In the previous segment on this CD, I introduced you to the concept of creating a new 2D drawing. Now I'm going to discuss applying dimensions to the drawing views that I've inserted. The dimension properties in a drawing are dictated by the drawing scale. So before I cover how to add dimensions to the drawing, I want to discuss dimension styles. To access the Dimension Styles dialog, go to the Tools main menu and select Dimension Styles. The Dimension Styles dialog appears. The first field in this dialog is the Dimension Style field, which displays the name of the style that you're editing. You can rename the style by clicking in the field and then typing in a new name for that style. If you want to add more styles, you can do this by selecting the New Dimension Style button. The New Dimension Style dialog appears, and in the Name field, give the new style a descriptive name. In the Copy From field, select one of the existing styles that you want to take the properties of as a starting point for your new style. Now click OK to continue. The new style is listed in the Dimension Style field, and you can continue editing the properties of that style. The first tab is the Units and Tolerance tab. Here you can change your primary display units, as well as the format and precision of the dimensions. In the Display section, you can uncheck the Length Units option to show the units of the dimensions with the values. Check the As Reference Dimension option if you want the dimensions with this style to be shown as reference dimensions. Also on this tab, you can choose if you want to display tolerances. The next tab is Lines and Arrows. Here you have access to arrow styles and spacing controls for dimensions. So I can change the type of arrowhead that I use for dimensioning, as well as the size of the respective arrowhead. For this example, I'll change my arrowhead style to filled-in square type. For arrow position, choose whether you want the arrows displayed inside or outside the extension lines, or you can leave it set at Smart, and the software will handle it automatically for you. If you prefer to choose yourself, you can create one style for inside extension lines and one style for outside extension lines if you wish. And finally, you can change the diametric style for diameter dimensions. You can set it at circular, linear, radial, or leave it at Smart and let the software choose for you. On the Text tab, you can control the font used for dimensioning. Click the Font button to modify the font style as well as the font size. You can also apply a strikeout or an underline in this dialog. Click OK to accept your changes. You can customize the placement of the dimension values. You can choose horizontal, parallel inside above, or horizontal above. The default type for this particular template is the horizontal placement. Finally, you can enter what you want displayed for various symbols. The last tab is the Alternate Units Text tab. Here you can check the Show Dual Dimension option, which allows you to insert dimensions that would show both the primary display units as well as a secondary display unit. You also need to specify where you want the dual dimensions to be displayed with respect to the primary dimension. I'll select the Above Placement option in this case. Once you've finished setting the properties for each of your styles, click OK to exit the dialog. You then need to define which style you want to use as the default style for your drawing, and set up the remaining properties for your drawing. So next we're going to go to the File menu and choose Properties. On the Dimensions and Annotations tab, notice that the first field is Default Style. Here you can select which of your styles that you want to use for the default. You can also change the style of individual dimensions at any time. I want to point out that styles are not saved in the overall user profile. They're saved with the drawing they're created in. If you want to be able to reuse your styles without having to set them up in each drawing that you create, then you should set up the styles in a template to ensure that they're always available each time you create a new drawing. More information about using styles and templates is available in the Alibre Design User Guide. The other options available on this tab allow you to customize the settings for annotations and the bill of materials callouts. Next, we'll look at the Detailing tab. The Detailing tab offers the default view creation options, as well as other properties related to section views, detail views, hatching options, and centerline options. Proceeding on to the Layers tab, you can modify the properties of the drawing layers and create custom layers as well. I will cover layers more in depth in a later segment. To apply the changes that you've made, click the Apply Options tab. And then to apply the changes you've made to the current workspace, leave the current document option selected. Then click Apply, and then Close. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to adding dimensions to the drawing. As I've mentioned in a previous segment on this CD, when you create a 2D drawing, you have the option of projecting the design dimensions onto your views automatically. In this case, I did not do that when I created the drawing, so now I have the option of doing it on each view individually. So if I zoom in on the right view, I can then right-click on the view and select the Reproject Design Dimensions option. The Reproject Design Dimensions dialog appears, and I can choose whether to project only the dimensions that have been added since I inserted the view, or to reproject all available design dimensions. I'll check the All Available Design Dimensions option and click OK. At this point, the software automatically pulls any applicable driving dimensions from the part model and applies them to this view. These dimensions are driving dimensions that I've previously entered when I created the part model. After these dimensions have been placed on the view, I can easily reposition them. If you want to move dimensions, be sure your dimension filter is turned on. I'm going to go ahead and select the dimensions filter from the filter toolbar. Then I can move my mouse pointer over a dimension on the view, and you'll notice that the mouse pointer changes when you're hovering directly over a dimension. Then left-click and drag the dimension to reposition it on the view. So now I'll move these dimensions so that I can see them easily on the right view. Again, just move your mouse pointer over the dimension, left-click, and drag. Release the mouse button when you've positioned the dimension where you want to place it. Now that I've moved all the dimensions where I want them on the right view, I'll move on to the front view. I'll right-click on the front view and then select Reproject Design Dimensions. Select the All Available Design Dimensions option and then click OK. So again, the software is going to query the part model for any applicable driving dimensions and then place them onto this view. Once they're in place, I can reposition them as necessary. If you notice that it's not clear what a few of the dimensions are actually referencing, you can right-click on the views and select the Show Hidden Lines option. Then the hidden lines will be displayed. Some of the dimensions may be referencing hidden lines. In general, this is bad detailing practice, as you generally do not want to apply dimensions to hidden lines. So in this case, I'm going to delete some of these dimensions. To delete a dimension, right-click on the dimension value and select Delete from the pop-up menu. For this example, I'm going to remove all the dimensions from this view. Now, as I've mentioned previously, when you project the design dimensions automatically, the dimensions that are placed are the actual driving dimensions directly from the part model. Alibre Design has full associative capability between the 2D drawing and the 3D model. This allows you to actually change dimensions in your drawing file as well as in the model file. So right now I'm going to edit one of these dimensions. To do this, I need to double-click on the dimension, and the dimension input box then displays the dimension value. I will enter a 2-inch diameter value in this case, and hit enter on the keyboard to apply the new dimension. Notice the geometry in the drawing view updates automatically. So the new 2-inch dimension is applied to the diameter of the hole. Now if I were to save this drawing at this point, and then reopen the associated part file, the part would reflect the new diameter that I applied in this drawing. As a general rule of thumb, I would recommend that you make any design changes directly in the model, and then update the drawing file accordingly. In many cases, the projected design dimensions from the part may not be adequate to fully specify a drawing view. If this is the case, you can always add additional dimensions manually. To do this, select the Dimension tool from the Sketching toolbar, and then you can apply dimensions in the exact same manner as if you were in sketch mode in a part file. I'll move my mouse pointer over the entity that I'd like to dimension. I'm going to begin by placing a dimension on this hole. So I'll select the circle, move my mouse pointer away, and then left-click to place the dimension on the view. The Dimension tool remains active until you select another tool. so I can continue to place dimensions now. Slot dimensioning capability is also available in drawing mode. So again, I'm going to select the edge of the part, and then I'm going to select the edge of the hole. At this point, the slot dimensions dialog appears. Then I can choose one of three options: line to center, line to outside, or line to inside. I'll use the line to center option and click OK. The next thing I need to do is to locate the dimension accordingly. I'll left-click one more time to place it on the view. Don't forget that you can always move a dimension to another location on a view if need be. Just left-click on it, and then drag it to a new location, and then release the mouse button to place it. Here I'd like to emphasize the fact that any dimension that you apply to a view in a manual fashion is called a reference dimension. You cannot edit a reference dimension in a drawing view. So all the dimensions that I've been adding here are reference dimensions, and you'll notice that there's not a visual distinction between a reference dimension and a projected design dimension. However, you do have the option of displaying reference dimensions in parentheses. To do this, you must have the Display as Reference Dimension option set in the style of that particular dimension. It might be a good idea to create a style for reference dimensions so that you can assign that style to any dimension that you want displayed in parentheses. If you want to change the properties of an individual dimension, you can do that by assigning a new style to it. To easily assign a new style to the dimension, right-click on it and select Properties. The Dimension Properties dialog opens, and in the Dimension Style drop-down list, select the new style that you'd like to use. You can also create a new style here. To do this, uncheck the Use Style checkbox. Then set the properties as you want them for the dimension. Now click the New Dimensions Style button. In the Name field, enter a name for the new style and then click OK. Click OK in the Dimension Properties dialog. The style for that dimension is now applied. Remember that you can delete individual dimensions by moving your mouse pointer over the dimension, right-clicking on it, and then selecting Delete from the pop-up menu. You can also apply the Ordinate Dimensioning style to drawing views in Alibre Design. Here I've inserted one drawing view onto another sheet in my drawing. To use the Ordinate Dimensioning style, I can go to the Sketch main menu and select Ordinate Dimension. Now I'm in the Ordinate Dimension mode. The first thing you need to do when using the Ordinate Dimension style is to pick a baseline which sets the direction. So I'm going to left-click on this bottom horizontal line to apply the baseline. Next I need to pick the origin point or figure. So I'll left-click on this line, and as you can see the dimension is previewed, and I can left-click to place it. This represents the 0 point. Now I can begin selecting each item to dimension from that 0 point. Every time I left-click on an entity, a new ordinate dimension is placed. If I select a circular arc, the ordinate dimension is placed from the center of that circular arc. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply a couple of additional dimensions. When you're finished placing dimensions in the ordinate chain, you can click the Select tool from the viewing toolbar to return to the default mode. If you realize later that you need to add additional dimensions to the existing ordinate chain, you can do so easily. To do this, go to the Sketch menu and select Ordinate Dimension again. Left-click one time on the 0 dimension. Now you can begin adding new dimensions to the chain. So for this example, I'm going to apply dimension to this edge. When I left-click on the edge, another dimension is applied to the chain. Then I'll click the Select tool once again, and I'm back in the default mode. You can apply ordinate dimensions in the vertical direction or in the horizontal direction.